Hello everyone, my name's Pete and I played this whole game. Well, at least I've played what's available so far, which isn't actually that much, but let's take a look at what's here anyway. This video is brought to you by my ever so patient Patreon supporters. Details for that are in the description if you have too much money. Alternatively, you could join the exclusive YouTube Members Lounge. Trans-Siberian Railway Simulator is a unique blend of train sim, stalker, My Summer Car and Grand Theft Auto, all gently mixed together to make an experience that's like nothing else I've ever come across. The game is early access, and this disclaimer shows every time the game is launched just to reassure you that this is not the finished state. Pressing New Game presents you with the following options. Story mode, which will see you working for the railroad, working for the mafia, and managing the survival mechanics whilst keeping your train in good condition. Survival mode will remove the mafia missions, and simulator mode will remove the survival elements, leaving you in a regular train sim. Obviously we want to experience everything, so we're going to go story mode. And here we are on the platform of... I'm not going to try and pronounce the names of all the places, I'm just going to embarrass myself and insult a language. There's a nice man speaking to me on the radio, explaining that I'll be working for the railroad and the mafia at the same time. There's a short tutorial explaining the UI, and it's all very simple. For the survival aspects, I just need to make sure none of the red bars reach the maximum level. Please be aware that here, you can die of a hangover. There's a shop highlighted, but first I want to look in the bins because I know from previous experience that buying food is entirely optional. Why spend money when you can make trash soup? This is the world's shadiest car boot sale, and also where you can get hold of some essentials for our trip, like beer, sprats, a flashlight and a chainsaw. Now, I wonder... Yes, the chainsaw can be used as a weapon. Good. After that experiment, I load the save and purchase some apples, bananas, milk, some cabbage, a knife and a loaf of bread. And then it's time to have a little look around and... you okay there, buddy? Before we head to the locomotive, I want to check out the Mafia shop because obviously. And I got an assault rifle. Very cool. Okay, I think I've got everything I need to drive a train, so let's get started. What follows is a tutorial on how to check your train parts. There are lots of fiddly bits and pieces that will wear down over time, including, rather confusingly, the speedometer, which degrades at an alarming rate. This speedometer is what's used as an example for removing and replacing parts that are available to purchase in the various hangars, which are these sheds scattered along the railway. With your adjustable wrench in hand, you can loosen the bolts around the part you need to replace, pop it out, slap a new one in, tighten the bolts again, and you're off. It's very simple and works the same for every part on the locomotive. After this, it's time to get things powered up and get ready to drive. We need to turn on the compressor in the engine room, power on the pantographs, raise both of the pantographs, turn on the heaters because we don't want to die of hypothermia, turn on the radio where we get information from dispatch for our jobs. Next we'll turn on the main compressor, fill the main reservoir, turn on the KVC switch, reset the KVC switch, turn on the BV1 switch, reset the BV1 switch, turn on the low speed engine cooling, flip the VU switch, set the signalization direction in the engine room, turn on the signalization. Press the attention control button and stop the whistling, and now we're almost ready to drive. First, we'll need to prepare the brakes. Then head to the other end of the locomotive to release the handbrake, then back to the front to release a second handbrake, and now maybe we can move forwards. And if you forgot anything there, don't worry because there's a handy little guide sat in the window to refresh your memory. And we are off. Very slowly. I'm told to increase the notches on the main handle slowly, but I'll explain to you later why that's a terrible way to play this. For now, I need to connect to these coal wagons, so I'll roll past the switch and reverse onto the cars. Coupling needs to happen at 5 km an hour or slower, so I'm very careful to monitor my speed. I don't want to make a bad impression on my first day. All coupled up, and I'm told I've got an hour to deliver the cars. This is the only time a time limit will ever appear, and also one of the only times in this video that I will lie to you. Whilst the temperature of the cab is quite cosy, I make the executive decision to periodically turn the heaters on and off so as not to wear them out so quickly. This is a habit that does not form, and they remain on forever after doing it once or twice. You can use the inspection mode whilst driving, so I take a bit of time to familiarise myself with the moving parts, and there are a whole lot of them. The optimistic presence of this sun visor gave me a good chuckle too, but we're well on our way now at the lofty speed of 30 km an hour. I'm told that I'll soon have to lower the pantographs because a section of overhead wiring is not energised. There are handy signs that show me where this will happen, and I need to make sure I have enough speed to roll through the neutral section. Lowering the pantographs causes the engine to go off, and I don't remember how to reset it. During my panic of pressing the buttons, I'm given my first instructions from the Mafia, which will involve blowing up a bridge, which is key to a rival Mafia's logistics. It strikes me that the bridge should also be vital to our own logistics, but let's not split hairs. I'm still trying to get my engines reset, and the answer was in the locomotive manual, but that didn't stop me looking at every single button first. All I needed to do was reset the KBC switch and the BV1 switch, and after this mishap it's never an issue again, but this panic went on for about 10 minutes. I regained control of the throttle just in time to stop at a red signal and let another train pass. While I'm waiting for it to pass by, I have another look at the parts, and some pieces are already showing signs of wear. I'll need to keep a close eye on things in case I get stranded. The other train glides past and I get a green signal and we're off again. Speeding up is really slow. Apparently I can set the throttle to notch 8 before what I assume is the wheel slip mechanic triggers, and the white light on the panel appears when the throttle is too high. It turns out that the best way to drive this thing is to have the throttle as high as possible without triggering the wheel slip. Nikita is waiting for me on the other side of the bridge, and he has an explosive package for me. I assume this is the bridge that needs to be taken out, but I can't figure out why Nikita can't do it while he's here. And I ponder this whilst having a beer sandwich. Nikita is quite passionate about his explosives and is blessed with a poet's grasp of words. He hands me the package and immediately buggers off, leaving me to go and do the deed. I was taking notes whilst walking and went past the point I was supposed to plant the bomb. Once planted, the bomb gives me 30 seconds to get out of the blast radius. I turn back to look at the explosion because I'm not a cool guy, and that was bigger than I expected. You do not get this kind of action in Train Sim World. Nikita had also given me a package that needs to be delivered to Boris. There's another time limit for this, which means I lied to you earlier, but just trust me, there's not many time limits after this. There's a section of track up ahead that's limited to 40 km an hour because it's marked as a dangerous place, but there's nothing around that looks particularly dangerous. This is something that occurs quite frequently, and I'll talk about it again later. I'm having some trouble bringing the train to a stop here, and it's a long time before I realise I'm trying to apply the brakes while the throttle is still quite high. I'm a very competent engineer, I know. I drop the cars off at the station, deliver the package to Boris, and I'm given new orders from dispatch. Then I head out to couple to the next job. As this is a railway simulator, the vast majority of the game is spent like this. There's not a huge amount to say about it for now, except that the speed limit is always 60 km per hour, but the speedo goes up to 150. But let's just skip to the action. I reach the next station without any incident, and I need to pick up an envelope from Ivan, which contains a bundle of fake money. I use this money to buy a pile of cassette players, and now I need to find somewhere to sell them on. That somewhere is in a scrapyard at the next station. Alexander is happy to take them off my hands and pays me in dollars, which must be delivered to Dmitri, who lives out in the woods. Whilst I'm in the scrapyard, I sell my old speedometer and get back out on the rails. I'm trying to make a habit of checking the part wear and tear whenever I stop, and it seems like I won't have to replace things as often as I thought. Next time I see a hangar, I should price up all the parts so I can have a good handle on my financial situation. Dimitri's house is really in the middle of nowhere, and I have to make sure I have my rifle to hand because I don't feel completely safe. Sure enough, this turns out to be a great idea because a bear comes charging out of his front yard. Lucky for me, I was already on edge, so I'm able to deal with it before it gets close. I go into the house and deliver the dollars, I get paid for the completion of the job, and I take extra payment in the form of all Dimitri's food, milk and beer. My next job is to stop a train that's delivering drugs. The method for stopping it? Planting a mine on the rails, of course. So I'm off to meet another contact who can supply said mine. On approach to the next station, I need to jump out of the train to throw a switch to get the cars to the correct track. So I slow the train down and dismount while it's still rolling. Doing this makes things more efficient because starting and stopping a freight train is difficult. I uncouple from the wagons and I receive my next transport job. Maxim, the man who will provide the mine, is also nearby, so I slow down the locomotive and go to leave whilst it's moving again. But apparently there's a speed limit on when this is safe to do so. I'm told that I've died from mechanical injuries. I try again and manage to safely dismount. I pick up the mine from Maxim, who tells me I must treat it nicely, and then realise that I didn't apply my brake on the locomotive and it's been rolling this entire time. Fortunately, it was going very slowly and ended up saving me some legwork. The location for the anti-train mine is between this station and the next, but before I couple to the next job, I take a few minutes to visit the hangar where I buy a load of spare parts at random to make sure I have at least something in case of an emergency. A couple of kilometres along the track, and the quest marker appears signalling the place to plant the mine. I pull up to the place and plonk the bomb on the rails, and in my head, even though I've actually done this before, this will be a small explosion, just enough to knock the train off the rails. Physics, as you may have guessed, are a suggestion here. This should have definitely killed me and derailed a few of the cars, but there's no damage to the track at all, so these are clearly magic mines. Naturally, the next step is to just nudge the wreck off the track, couple to the drug cars, and then off we go again. On the way past, I take a little look at the damage, and it looks like this train was at least driverless, so I don't have to feel guilty about murder. I'm told to drop off the cars further down the line. I get to the drop-off point, and when I uncouple the cars, the game crashes. So I uncouple the cars again, and this time it just works. The next job is, you guessed it, to go to a nightclub and kill some pimps. There's a contact nearby who can give me some extra ammo for the job. I successfully drop off my train at the next station and decide to take a stroll around town, or at least the part of town that's accessible. There's a shop here that actually looks like a shop even if the shelves are a bit bare. There are also some items that I can't purchase because of the glass, and the staff are not too keen to help. The town is mostly assets that you can't interact with, and the bulk of the place is inaccessible to the player anyway. I know that it's just decoration, but I'd have liked to have a look around. At the very least, I'd like it if the gates worked, because I got stuck in this yard and had to load my save. Anyway, enough messing around, time to get a job and get rolling. Vitaly is sitting just outside of the town and has a van full of ammo and another rifle for me. And he's also a Jedi. The radio voice tells me that it's of paramount importance that I kill the pimps but leave the prostitutes alive so that they can work for us. On the approach to the club, I pass a sign indicating a dangerous place, and yeah, it's about to be. I park the train and block all traffic whilst I nip inside for a quick shootout. There's a bear outside and I don't want to be taken by surprise on the way out, so I'll just, yeah. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you here. This is by far the best gunplay of any train simulator I've ever played. Reflections are weird though. There's a bag of cash I need to grab before leaving, but after that it's back out to the train.
Mission accomplished.
Just a few minutes ago, everybody ran out of this door, but where did they go to? All the cars are still outside, and a lot of those people were quite frankly not dressed for this weather. There's a forester's lodge marked just a little ways up the road, and I want to see what it's all about. Apparently I can sell trophies here, which I assume would be from hunted animals. It's a fancy place though. I get back underway and a bear charges my train. Clearly this guy has never played rock, paper, scissors, train, bear. I drop off the suitcase of cash to Oleg, and now it's time to go hunting. The director, capitalised here because he's important, is unhappy with things, and to make him happy I need to kill an animal and deliver the corpse to him. Before I do that I need to sell my pistol collection, which is done by feeding them one by one to this man. And then it's off to collect another gun and knife, both of which I already have, from another mysterious stranger. Victor, like everyone else important to our tasks, lives in the middle of nowhere. He has a nice axe outside that I'm very disappointed that I can't take, and inside he has a scoped rifle, some ammo, and a big knife just for me. He gives me some sage advice, telling me to become one with the trees, and there are a bunch of stags out back for me to kill. After a few shots blocked by bulletproof leaves, I do take one down, and now to take off the antlers skillfully. Just like real life. Obviously there's someone further down the railway for me to deliver this to, and I wonder what I do with all this meat. I take down another stag so I can have a trophy for myself and get back on track. Mikhail is just hanging around waiting for a stag head like you do, and I attempt to sit my personal trophy on the other seat in the cab, but I can't store things in my locomotive. Devs, if you're watching, some customization in here would be lovely. My new job is to find and kill an alcohol dealer and destroy his merchandise. I arrive at Moshkovo and I'm greeted by a wolf, which I expertly turn into a rug. But the shot scared the locals, who go running into the trees, and I'm fairly certain they'll freeze to death, so I do what any sane person would do and continue with my railroad work. And then I replace my first part, which is this shock absorber, which is degrading quicker than most pieces, so I fit a new one. Feeling particularly manly after this, I'd celebrate with a beer, which is presumably ice cold because look where we are. There's a new railroad job sat in front of me and I'm soon on my way again. I pass another forester's lodge and consider stopping to sell my trophies, but stopping and starting the train is not very fun, so I just keep driving. Pulling into the next station and something has gone horribly wrong. Why is this train on the same track as me? Well, he's not going to back up, so whatever, I guess I'll have to. And on doing so, yes, I do notice that I've just ignored a red signal, which shows exactly how much attention I've been paying to the signals. As if my entry to the station wasn't dramatic enough, I find the dealer, kiss him as instructed, and then everybody starts firing at me. I'm not about to reload a save to get a better outcome, so I'm going to play this out. Consequences be damned. Everyone, including the people in the hangar, are hostile to me, and as a result, all these train parts are now free. I feel like I really could have taken more advantage of this, but at the same time, now I know how to get free stuff if money ever becomes a problem. And here's something weird. The bathroom windows are just a wide open view of everyone doing their business. I hope this isn't a realistic representation, but hey, I never even leave the town I live in, so I'm not well travelled enough to even speculate. Even after everyone at the station has been murdered, Dispatch has no problem giving me a new job, and so it's business as usual, I guess. My mafia task is to disrupt an illegal alcohol manufacturing business. Unfortunately, when attempting to roll through the next station, the locals had heard of the massacre in the neighbouring town and the guards opened fire, smashing my windows. One poor gentleman made the decision to run along the track and, well, if you're going to make decisions like that, these things are going to happen. But my windows are smashed, so now it's going to be icy cold in here, and I'll need to get those replaced as soon as possible. And I missed my opportunity to get free windows in the last hangar. The warehouse I'm looking for is rather predictably in the middle of nowhere, and a good old-fashioned shootout follows. Lucky for me, the enemies only ever use pistols and very rarely move from their positions, making it an exercise in clearing corners. I did miss a barrel and it took me a few minutes to track it down, but after clearing that out I'm instructed to deal with the poacher. So, after a job well done, I have a beer sandwich and get back underway. I really need new windows before hypothermia kills me. Further along the line there's a forester's lodge in a neutral section, but here's a problem. If I stopped here I'd be stuck forever. And the other option is to run a kilometre in either direction to visit it, so who placed this here and why? Other highlights of this trip are this stag hitting the train, or train hitting the stag depending on your outlook, and my anxiety on the station approach where I expected to be fired upon, but I was not. While I'm here I want to pull into the hangar and make some repairs, starting with these windows. At least I would if they had any windows. It looks like I'm just going to have to be cold for a while longer. After about 20 minutes of faffing around, I take care of the worst parts and I'm happy enough to be on my way. At this point I'm starting to notice that some things are not actually simulated, like gravity and slopes. The sander also has no impact on adhesion, but I'll go into this stuff in more detail later on. I arrive at the poacher's home, which is this large farmyard, and it's empty aside from the target and his very clearly installed bulletproof curtains. I search his house for beer and then head over to where he keeps his deer. I'm supposed to do something about this fence, but I'm not sure what, so I try and shoot it, and that seems to do the trick. Then all I need to do is steal his antlers and then get back to the rails once more. This is the only train simulator I've played where there's only one locomotive to drive. I've played others where the controls are identical for all of them, but having something new to look at is always nice. I don't know if it's part of the development goals, but it'd be nice to have some variety. That being said, the variety in this comes from other sources, like killing bears with an AK. Part of me thinks this game does too many things, but another part of me thinks it can definitely do them all better. Either way, I'm having fun. I drop off the antlers to this man, and then I'm given a bit of money and I'm told I need to provide the protection for a meeting somewhere. I understand there's some sort of mafia rivalry going on, but I'm feeling very much detached from it. I think there's room to tell quite a compelling story here, but it needs to be a little bit more impactful with its execution. I'm just coasting along and a wolf takes it personally. I do wonder how long this guy will chase me and if I'll get jump scared at the next station. Spoiler alert, I will not. I pick up some ammo and find someone to buy my dead animals and meat chunks, and I restock on free beer before setting off to the meeting. I get there in the middle of the night, which I think you'll agree makes it very atmospheric, and apparently everyone, including the enemy, was just waiting for me to arrive as things kick off immediately. It was nice of them to approach in small waves, head for the same spot, wear bright red outlines and carry only pistols. I think these small things were a factor in my victory, but it's also nice that all my allies are pacifists, so I get to do all the killing myself. At the next station, there's a hangar that has windows in stock, and I can finally make the cab warm again. It's a good thing that the inventory is so large and that I can stack some items. The lack of storage on the train is bothering me. Since we keep the same locomotive, it would make sense to have some storage on there, or even the option to buy a car to haul behind that acts as a home or something. I'm starting to wonder if there's any benefit to replacing parts before they hit 0% as well. I haven't noticed anything that would suggest a part isn't working properly. But those concerns will have to take a backseat because I need to go and take out a drug lab, because of course I do. On the way to the drug lab, I have a little experiment on the effects of travelling over the speed limit. Passing the 60 km/h mark causes the train to shake violently from side to side, and eventually just spontaneously explode. I'm not entirely sure that's realistic, but it's definitely dramatic. I did get an achievement for breaking the 100 km/h mark, which is actually not that fast. It's about 62 miles per hour in case you were wondering. Clearing the lab was pretty straightforward, and afterwards I need to take some of the drugs to someone. The mafia man on the radio now needs me to recover a golden icon that was stolen, but I need to meet someone to collect a key to the building first. Roman lives in this unnamed village by the railroad that has no station. He seems to be the only resident, and it's a bit of a shame that there's no reason to look around here. There's definitely lots of room to fill this game with quirky things to bring the world to life, but I understand the dev team is small and my expectations should be adjusted accordingly. The town that contains the icon is also a very interesting place and is one of the few locations that actually looks like it could function. The item I'm after is in here, guarded by two bozos who I shoot and then grab the package and leave. I deliver the icon and the next job is a throwback to the beginning as I need to blow up another bridge. I can't help but feel like blowing these bridges is detrimental to our own efforts too. Surely there's a way to cripple the enemy operation that isn't just as damaging to our own. Here's the bridge that needs to go, and here's the bridge going. Simple, innit? The thought has crossed my mind that blowing the first bridge should have halted all the traffic going in the other direction, but I don't imagine the trains that pass me on the left do much more than get out of sight and despawn. But still, now the problem is compounded. But there's no time to think about that because we have a golden opportunity to take down the enemy leader. We're going to do this peacefully and not just shoot him. Instead, we're going to give him a suitcase of fake money and then politely ask for a selfie before doing a runner. This sounds easy enough. The journey between these two stations is the longest stretched without a stop by a good 15 kilometers, but eventually the bunker comes into view and I prep myself for a potential fight. I walk in, I hand the man his suitcase, I pull out my camera, take a photo, and then bravely run away. Nobody chases me, which is just as well as moving this thing takes so long they could have easily blown it up before I got going. I deliver the camera to a local militiaman, and then we're treated to a news bulletin that informs us of the arrest of our enemy. And that's the game so far, or rather that's the story so far. I can still take transport jobs and drive the train, however, with the bridges blown, the play space is massively reduced, making the story mode objectively the worst way to play this simulator in the long term. One of the defining features of a simulator, for me, is in how you never really complete it, you can just continue with the main gameplay loop. And technically yes, that's still possible here, but it doesn't feel very inviting. All in all, this was a fun experience as a one-off, but I can't see me playing this for any length of time after the missions are complete. As it stands, this game does a very basic job of everything that it offers. The train sim side of things isn't quite good enough to keep me away from Derail Valley or Railroader, the life sim and survival side isn't enough to switch from the long dark, and the gunplay is done better in almost every shooter, although I can think of some examples where it's done worse. The combining of all these mechanics is ambitious, but I don't actually think it's impossible to make something really special out of it. It will, however, require leaning into one of the aspects more heavily. I could forgive the simplification of the train simulation if the story was more involved and the towns felt more alive. For example, stop putting the objectives in the middle of nowhere and make use of the established parts of civilization. Not only will this streamline the stop and start nature of things, but it also provides a reason to breathe some life into the towns. On the other hand, I'd accept the Mafia jobs as some simple optional gameplay enrichment in exchange for better railroad simulation or more in-depth and varied locomotive simulation. The one part that I don't think leaning into is the locomotive maintenance. It's not exactly in the way of the fun, but if it becomes a bigger part of the game, then I feel like we stray closer to My Summer Car, and honestly, that game is only fun as an observer and does not lend itself to long-term enjoyment. I see no reason to play this game again until there's a significant update, which since recording this there has been, but I'll be definitely keeping my eye on it as it develops. It's certainly a unique blend of game mechanics, and I'm very keen to embrace the refining of it as it turns into something really special, potentially. Do I think you should buy it? Not yet, I think it needs more time in the oven, but I would absolutely wishlist it and watch for development announcements. That's all from me. Thanks again to the Patreon supporters. Click the subscribe button to encourage me to make more videos, or comment to tell me not to bother. Either way, I'm happy. But in any case, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.